So at 4:00 p.m. on a Tuesday in 2026, a news anchor in Adelaide goes on the air wearing a highly specific red geometric tie.
Right, which sounds like just another day of local news.
Exactly. And then 2 hours later, a different anchor closes the broadcast and he's wearing this textured gold tie.
Yeah.
And to like 99% of viewers, this meant absolutely nothing.
I mean, you're just tuning in for the headlines, right?
Yeah.
The weather, maybe the sports.
Yeah, but to one specific internet observer, that exact sequence of neckties was basically the key to unlocking how the visual presentation of the news secretly controls our energy levels.
Oh, totally. It
Yeah.
shapes our focus and, well, really our entire mood.
It's wild. So welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. We have a fairly specific mission today for you listening. We are zooming all the way in on this brilliantly niche corner of internet observation to explore how these tiny micro details actually shape our daily lives.
Because we usually think of the news strictly in terms of information,
Yep.
like what happened today, what are the facts.
Right.
But today, we are stepping away from the headlines entirely. We're looking at the psychological machinery working quietly in the background of the broadcast.
And our source for this is fantastic. We're working from an excerpt from a blog called Gap to Create, which is written by this deeply observant writer named Cricket Fox.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
She really is. And you listening might actually be familiar with her broader platform, Corner Coffee with Cricket. She has this absolute knack for paying close attention to things that the rest of us just scroll right past.
It's a very particular kind of media criticism. I mean, she isn't critiquing the journalism itself. She's critiquing the environment in which the journalism is delivered.
Exactly. And the specific post we are diving into has this phenomenal headline. It's The Triple Threat is Real, the Great Tuesday Tie Trifecta of 2026.
Such a great title.
Right. And Cricket provides this meticulously detailed chronological tracking of the afternoon anchor desk ties at Channel 9 News Adelaide.
Which I know, tracking neckties on a local news broadcast might sound like just a fun little quirk.
Yeah, a bit eccentric.
But there is actually a masterclass in aesthetic coordination hidden in this specific Tuesday lineup.
Because it forces us to ask, a fundamental question: how much of our reaction to the news is dictated by the actual facts, and how much is dictated by the packaging?
By the visual packaging.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to play devil's advocate right out of the gate here. I'm looking at this progression she outlines: a red tie, a green tie, a gold tie.
Okay.
Part of me thinks Cricket might be suffering from a bit of apophenia here.
Yeah.
Finding patterns where none exist. She's acting almost like a play-by-play sports commentator, but for broadcast journalism fashion.
I mean, it's a fair point to raise.
Are we entirely sure these three news anchors didn't just grab whatever was clean out of the station's wardrobe closet? Like, is this just a fun internet quirk, or is there really a deeper psychological mechanism at play?
Well, what's fascinating here is that if we look at how broadcast television actually functions, that whole happy accident theory falls apart pretty quickly.
Really? How so?
Because we have to consider the concept of cognitive load. A modern news broadcast is an incredibly dense visual environment.
Oh, for sure.
You have the anchor speaking. You have a rolling ticker at the bottom of the screen. You have breaking news graphics flashing.
Usually a bright red banner across the bottom.
Exactly. Maybe there's a live shot in a picture-in-picture box over their shoulder. The viewer's brain is working overtime just to process that sheer volume of data.
So it's visually exhausting for you to just sit and watch it.
Highly exhausting. Because of that overload, the styling of the anchor, the person at the literal center of the screen acts as a visual anchor for the brain. It provides a heuristic.
Like a mental shortcut.
Right, a cognitive shortcut that tells the viewer how they should feel about the information being presented. And wardrobe departments at major stations, they don't leave that to chance.
They're doing this on purpose.
Absolutely. They use color theory and pattern geometry to manage the viewer's energy. So in a world of information overload, when someone like Cricket Fox takes the time to notice a flawless wardrobe alignment, it's actually a deep appreciation for those uncredited, behind-the-scenes styling teams.
She's essentially decoding the station's strategy for managing our attention spans.
Precisely. She isn't just cataloging fashion, she's mapping out the emotional arc the producers intended for that afternoon.
That makes a lot of sense. And to see how they built that arc, we really have to look at the timeline, starting right at 4 p.m.
The critical entry point for the afternoon news cycle. You have to set the baseline here.
Right. So our source introduces us to Will McDonald, who is the 4.0 p.m. afternoon opener for 9 News Adelaide.
Okay.
And according to Cricket's record, Will set the tone early. She notes he wore and I'll quote her here, brilliant, bold red base featuring a sharp geometric pattern of white blocks.
A very strong choice.
Yeah, she actually dubbed this a certified fresh debut that brought instant energy to the desk.
And if we think about the specific time of day, that choice of instant energy isn't just fashion. It's a highly calculated necessity.
Because of the 4 p.m. slump.
Exactly. The viewer tuning in at 4 p.m. is likely transitioning in their day. Maybe they are finishing up the workday, maybe they're picking up kids, or just hitting that natural circadian dip in energy.
Right, you're usually dragging a bit at 4 p.m.
So the station needs to capture their attention immediately.
Hmm.
From a purely psychological standpoint, red is the highest arousal color on the spectrum.
It just wakes you right up.
It triggers an immediate physiological response. It literally tells the brain, pay attention, this is urgent.
It's essentially a visual shot of espresso.
That's a great way to put it. It spikes the adrenaline.
Yeah.
But there is a danger there, too.
What's the danger? Too much energy.
Yeah. If a styling department puts an anchor in a solid, overwhelming block of bright red, it can easily cross the line from urgent to alarming.
Oh, like a state of emergency.
Right. It can feel like a bleeding league crisis-level aesthetic, which might be entirely disproportionate to the actual news being reported at 4:00 p.m. on a standard Tuesday.
So how do they mitigate that? Because Cricket specifically points out the pattern. It wasn't just red, it was a sharp geometric pattern of white blocks.
And that geometry is the mechanism that tempers the alarm. In visual composition, sharp geometric blocks imply rigid order, stability, and structure.
Ah, okay, so it's balancing it out.
Yes. So you have the red base demanding attention and creating energy, but the white geometric blocks immediately reassure the subconscious that the situation is contained. It's structured.
The message the tie sends is kind of like, wake up, we have important information, but we are completely in control of it.
Exactly. It establishes a deeply authoritative baseline for the rest of the afternoon.
I see. So Will McDonald spikes the audience's attention with that red geometry, getting everyone in the door and focused. But this brings up a logistical problem for the broadcast, doesn't it?
In what way?
Well, if you give the audience that visual shot of espresso at 4:00 p.m., you run the risk of exhausting them if you just keep hammering them with bold, high-arousal colors for the next 2 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
So how does the 9 News team solve that visual fatigue when they have to transition to other segments? Like, how do you carry the momentum without burning people out?
You have to offer a cognitive palate cleanser. The viewer's retinas, and honestly their attention span, they need a momentary break from that rigid urgency.
You have to step it down a notch.
Right, you have to shift the visual frequency, but you have to do it without losing the viewer's engagement entirely.
Which brings us to the second act of the trifecta, and honestly, my personal favorite description in the blog post. Our source introduces Tom Wren, who Cricket affectionately refers to as Tommy.
Tommy the sports guy.
Yes, Tommy handles the sports coverage for both the 4:00 p.m. and the 6:00 p.m. blocks. So to carry the momentum from Will's opener, Tommy joins the anchor desk wearing a, quoting again, high-contrast, athletic combo of alternating grass green and deep navy diagonal stripes.
Which is a complete departure from the baseline we just established with the red blocks.
It really is. And Cricket Fox calls this look the sports tonic.
That's brilliant framing.
I know. I initially thought that was just a clever, playful phrase. You know, you put the sports guy in grass green, so we subconsciously think of a football pitch or a golf course. It's very literal.
It is literal, but it's also highly functional.
Right. Based on what you're saying about cognitive palate cleansers, is there a functional reason why grass green and deep navy act as a tonic after that bold red opener?
Oh, absolutely. Think about the color wheel for a second. Green sits directly opposite red.
Okay.
If red is high arousal and urgent, green is the cognitive counterweight. It represents organic growth, neutrality, and relief.
So it's literally cooling the screen down.
Exactly. By putting the sports anchor in grass green, the styling team is subconsciously signaling to the viewer that it is safe to lower their shoulders. The hard news of the day is pausing, and we are entering a lower stakes, more recreational space.
And what about the navy blue?
Well, the deep navy provides a grounding professional contrast. So he doesn't look like he's actually wearing a sports jersey, you know.
Right. He still has to look like a newsman.
But the green does the heavy lifting of relieving that tension.
But what about the pattern? Because we moved from Will's rigid white geometric blocks to Tommy's diagonal stripes. If they are both sitting at the anchor desk together, why is it so important that their patterns contrast so sharply?
This is where it gets really clever. If you put two men next to each other on a static screen, and they are both wearing rigid geometric grids,
Oh, that would look awful.
right, the entire visual frame becomes stiff and impenetrable. It feels like a wall. By introducing diagonal lines, the styling team completely breaks that horizontal and vertical grid.
So the diagonal stripe breaks the tension.
Yes. In visual design, diagonal lines inherently guide the eye across the frame. They create a sense of forward momentum.
Oh, wow. So while the green color is calming the viewer down from the red, the diagonal stripe is actually keeping their eye moving so they don't just like zone out and get bored.
Precisely. It's a very sophisticated balancing act.
Hmm.
They are lowering the emotional stakes with the color, but maintaining the dynamic visual interest with the pattern.
That is so smart.
It manages to differentiate the two men on screen while keeping them complementary. It allows for this seamless baton pass from the hard news to the sports desk without jolting the viewer out of the experience.
A seamless baton pass. Okay. I'm really starting to see how intricately this is mapped out.
It's impressive, isn't it?
Very. You've got the energetic opener, you've got the dynamic but refreshing middle. But, in television, just like in anything else, you can run a perfect race for the first hour and a half. But if you stumble at the finish line, the whole broadcast feels disjointed.
Oh, a bad closer ruins the whole thing.
Right. You have to stick the landing.
The final segment has to synthesize the energy of the afternoon and transition the viewer into their evening. It's honestly the most delicate tonal shift of the whole day.
Which leads us perfectly to the 6:00 p.m. news, the culmination of the broadcast. Our source introduces Brenton Ragless, who is tasked with closing out the day.
Okay, let's look at his styling.
According to Cricket's blog, Brenton completes the trifecta wearing a striking textured gold-orange pattern tie, and he wears it against a sharp navy suit.
Wow. The shift to gold and orange is incredibly telling here.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Cricket literally dubbed this the golden hour anchor look.
Ah, I love that.
And this is where she pulls the whole theory together. Her headline for this progression from Will to Tommy to Brenton is Crimson, Clover, and Gold.
That is such a satisfying sequence.
Crimson for the 4.0 p.m. red, Clover for the sports green, and Gold for the 6.0 p.m. closer. Now, I understand the psychological mechanics of waking people up at 4 p.m. I get it. And I understand cooling them down for sports.
Right.
But what is the specific cognitive goal of putting the 6.0 p.m. anchor in a textured gold-orange? I mean, does that feel like a happy accent to you, or is that deliberate?
Oh, it's 100% a deliberate masterpiece. It's all about reflecting the viewer's shifting environment. By 6.0 p.m., the psychology of the audience has fundamentally changed from where they were at 4.0 p.m.
Because they're home now.
Exactly. They aren't in the afternoon slump anymore. The workday is officially over. They are likely home, perhaps making dinner, transitioning into their private lives.
So they don't need that jolt anymore.
Right. They no longer need the harsh, geometric espresso shot of the red tie. What they need now is warmth, authority, and reflection. Gold and orange are intrinsically warm colors. They literally mimic the color temperature of the setting sun.
Literally the golden hour.
Yes. So they are dressing the anchor to match the lighting outside the viewer's window.
That is incredible. It creates this sense of environmental harmony, right? Like you're in sync with the news.
It really does. But the detail that really confirms how deliberate this all is, honestly, is the texture.
Oh, yeah. Cricket specifically highlighted that it was a textured gold-orange pattern tie, as opposed to the sharp geometric blocks or those high-contrast athletic stripes we saw earlier.
Yes, she pointed out the texture specifically, and that matters a lot.
Why does texture matter so much in this context?
Because sharp lines and high contrast, like we saw in the first two ties, those require active visual processing. They are sharp, they are loud. Your brain has to work to look at them.
Okay.
Texture, on the other hand, diffuses light. It softens the visual impact. It feels richer, more established, and honestly, just more comforting. It allows the viewer's eye to finally rest.
Ah, so you're not exhausted looking at it.
Exactly. By pairing that soft, warm texture with a sharp navy suit to maintain the necessary journalistic gravity, the styling team successfully downshifts the broadcast. They guide the viewer out of the stressful news cycle and safely into their evening.
Safely into their evening. That is just brilliant. And that brings us to Cricket Fox's final verdict in the blog post. After tracking the crimson geometry, the Clover diagonal stripes, and the textured gold, she awards the styling team a flawless 10 out of 10.
As she should.
Honestly, hearing you break down the cognitive load, the visual heuristics, and the color theory, I have to admit, my initial skepticism is totally gone. It is a bulletproof rating. This was clearly a premeditated, highly orchestrated progression.
It's a brilliant piece of environmental design. I mean, managing a cohesive visual arc across a 2-hour live window requires a deep understanding of human psychology.
They really have to know their audience.
The anchors aren't just reading facts. Their very presence is engineered to help us digest those facts.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Like, why spend our time doing a deep dive on the sartorial choices of 3 newsmen in South Australia?
Right, what's the takeaway here?
I think the real lesson embedded in Cricket Fox's Gap to Create blog goes far beyond neckties. It's really about the joy and, frankly, the utility of noticing the hidden architecture of our daily routines.
That's a great way to look at it.
We are so conditioned to passively consume the news, to just let the chyrons and the headlines wash over us. We totally forget that there are professionals working tirelessly behind the scenes to curate that experience for us.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, when we actually take a second to recognize that effort, it changes our relationship with the media we consume.
How so?
Well, we stop being these passive receptacles for anxiety-inducing information, and we become active, critical observers. We realize that the news is a constructed environment.
It's built for us.
Right.
Yeah.
And understanding how that environment is built gives us back a degree of control over how we react to it. It allows us to appreciate the craft while also protecting our own cognitive load.
We walked into this deep dive expecting the news to just be, a straightforward delivery of facts.
Just another Tuesday.
But having unpacked the great Tuesday Tide trifecta of 2026, it is so clear that we are watching a highly calibrated visual progression where every pattern and every color choice serves a really specific psychological function.
It's a powerful reminder that nothing on a broadcast screen is there by accident. Everything communicates something.
Exactly. Which leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to ponder as you go about your day. We just spent this time proving that a local news broadcast styling team is meticulously coordinating necktie patterns.
Down to the texture.
Yes, using red geometry for afternoon urgency, green diagonals for athletic momentum, and textured gold to mimic the setting sun. So, if they are paying that much attention to a simple piece of silk, what other subtle visual cues in our daily media diet are secretly shaping our moods, our attention spans, and even our perception of the truth without us ever realizing it?
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. Next time you tune in to watch the headlines, take a closer look at the colors, the patterns, and the lighting. You might just spot the hidden machinery working right in front of your eyes.